One of the songs that we sing at this time of the year is "O Holy Night." And in it is this line: "A thrill of hope, the weary world rejoices." A weary world. I can't think of a better description of our lives or our world than that. A weary world. A world weary from this virus and all its implications. Weary of social distancing and wearing masks. Weary of travel restrictions and being stuck at home. Weary of doing things online and virtually. Weary of being robbed of so many things like mourning together at funerals or laughing together at weddings, celebrating graduations, spending the holidays. Weary. Weary of endless conversations in a year like ours about politics and race and how to handle this virus, and weary of conversations that seem to go nowhere, and yet divisions about everything that seem to be everywhere. Weary of feeling anxious, weary of being on alert, weary of feeling afraid, weary. A weary world. And yet we still sing, even in a world like ours, even in a year like this, a thrill of hope. The weary world rejoices. So then what is it that can make a weary world infuse with hope and can make a weary world rejoice? This. Matthew 1, verse 23. "Behold, the virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and they shall call his name Emmanuel," which means God with us. Emmanuel, God with us. Into our weary world has come this announcement: Emmanuel has come. Emmanuel has arrived. God with us. I read this week that John Wesley, one of the great Christian heroes, he went to his deathbed, 87 years old, with his family and friends around him with feeble hands. He bid them all farewell, and with his final breaths, he said this: "The best of all is this, God with us." He said it again. "The best of all is this, God with us." 87 years of life, decades of ministry, books written, preaching galore, and yet when he thought through all that there was to say and boiled it all down, the last and best thing he could say is, "The best of all is this, Emmanuel, God with us." And friends, that means that no matter how many Christmases we have, the wonder of what has happened on that day in Bethlehem will never be exhausted. We could turn it over in our minds over and over again, and its wonder will not dissipate. The wonder of God with us. In fact, consider that with me for a second. God. Emmanuel says something about Jesus, and it says that Jesus is God. Consider that for a second. Christmas is saying that in Jesus, God came into our planet. I don't know about you, but I am such a skeptic at heart that I have to actually say things slowly to my own soul so that I might not breeze by them as doctrines or creeds that I confess, but its wonder is missed on my heart. So say it slowly with me. Consider it with me again. This world, like real, not fable, not myth, not fantasy, not fairy tale. Real like this podium is real. Real like the ground underneath my feet is real. Real like the air I breathe is real. Real like this life, this world we inhabit. And God inhabited this world. The real, true God came under life under this planet, invaded this space. The true God who made all things by the word of His mouth and by His power. The God who appeared to His people in fire and whirlwind, hurricane and tornado. The God who is so glorious and majestic that angels hide their face and men cannot look at him and live. That God came in flesh and blood, in bone and skin. He inhabited our world. The sovereign God who controls all things came to our earth. The God of all the Scriptures, worshipped by all of his people, the God enthroned on high, came and became cells in the womb of a virgin. He was squeezed out of a birth canal. He was wiped off and cleaned up and wrapped in cloth and laid in a crib. The wonder of it, the awe of it, the worship it ought produce. The God of all the cosmos nurses at the breast of a human, of a woman, his mother. The God of infinite power, the Lord of hosts, the commander of all the armies, needs to be protected and fed and cleaned and bathed and cared for and nurtured. God, the true and real God, that in love for us, the real and true God, came to this earth in a body as a man, to breathe our air, to live under our sun, to know life as you know it and as I know it, so that this God knows what it is to sweat at the end of a day's work. He knows the discomfort of hunger and thirst. He knows the joy of human friendships and relationships. He knows the pain of grieving at a funeral. He knows the betrayal of a friend who leaves you. He knows the heartache of injustice. He knows it all. God come to the world for us. You see, this wearied world, wearied by sin, could not be dealt with anyone else. And so God didn't send an angel, and He didn't send a prophet, and He didn't send a creed or a confession or a belief system or a religion. He came to deal with it Himself. He sorted out the problem of this wearied world Himself. God came. In fact, Matthew will tell us that the name of this baby born in Bethlehem is to be Jesus, Yeshua, which means Yahweh saves. Yahweh saves, for only Yahweh can save His people from their sins. So, friend, what is offered to you at Christmas is not religion. What is offered to you at Christmas is not a confession or a creed or a doctrine or even what we call the gospel. What is offered to you at Christmas is a person. God, the person Jesus Christ. Emmanuel means God, and it also means not only is He God, but He is God with us. He is God with us. God with us. Meaning it has all the comforts that you can imagine of God with us. Emmanuel means that all the circumstances and seasons of your life, God is with us. With you, if you're His people, if you belong to Him. That means that when the COVID test comes back positive, Emmanuel, God with you. It means when you're rolled into the ER room and no one else is allowed to come with you, Emmanuel, God is with you. It means that when you're grieving in December because mom or dad or brother isn't here, in that pain, Emmanuel, God is with you. It means when you're in your apartment alone again for the 100th night in a row, Emmanuel, God is with you. Into this wearied world and all its circumstances, Emmanuel, God with us. But here in Matthew 1, it means even more than that. With us, not even just in the circumstances or seasons of our life, but with us in that this God has bonded Himself to His people and He will save them from their sins. And nothing, not even only in their circumstances, but nothing in themselves or their weaknesses or their sins can keep him away. He is with us. Emmanuel, that God has come to be so close to you that he will never leave you and never cast you out. Never cast you out. Never push you away. He has bonded himself to you. Recently, Binu has been reading and leading a study through a book called Gentle and Lowly. I know it because this brother talks about this book all the time. It's all we ever hear anymore. And so because I've heard of this over and over again, I've started reading a bit of it, and I have to tell you, it's really good. And in one chapter, the author reflects on John Bunyan, the Puritan who wrote Pilgrim's Progress. And John Bunyan, wouldn't you know, he literally wrote a whole book about one verse. He sort of just turned it over in his mind again and again, drank out all there was to drink from this one verse. He reflected on John chapter 6, verse 37. Listen to this verse. It says, "All that the Father gives me," Jesus says, "will come to me, and whoever comes to me, I will never cast out." And Bunyan began to think about that. All that the Father gives to me, Jesus said, will come to me. And whoever comes to me, I will never cast out. John Bunyan began to think of what does it mean for Jesus to say, I will never cast out the one who comes to me. Would you hear some of his reflection on this? John Bunyan says this, listen. He says, "For this word, never cast out, cuts the throat of all objections. And it was dropped there by the Lord Jesus for that very end, and to help the faith that is mixed with unbelief. And it is, as it were, the sum of all promises. Neither can any objection be made upon the unworthiness that you find in yourself, that this promise will not assoil. But I am a great sinner, say you. I will never cast out, says Christ. But I am an old sinner, say you. I will never cast out, says Christ. But I am a hard-hearted sinner, say you. I will never cast out, says Christ. But I am a backsliding sinner, say you. I will never cast out, says Christ. But I have served Satan all my days, say you. I will never cast out, says Christ. But I have sinned against light, say you. I will never cast out, says Christ. But I have sinned against mercy, say you. I will never cast out, says Christ. But I have no good thing to bring with me, say you. I will never cast out, says Christ. Ortlund reflects a bit further and he begins to think about this. And he says this, he says, fallen, anxious sinners are limitless in their capacity to perceive reasons for Jesus to cast them out. We are factories of fresh resistance to Christ's love. Even when we run out of tangible reasons to be cast out, such as specific sins or failures, we tend to retain a vague sense that given enough time, Jesus will finally grow tired of us and hold us at arm's length. But then he says, no, wait. We say to Christ, cautiously approaching Jesus, you don't understand, I've really messed up in all kinds of ways. I know, Jesus responds. You know most of it, sure, certainly more than what others see, but there's perversity down inside me that's hidden from everyone. I know it all, Jesus says. Well, the thing is, it's not just my past, it's my present too. I understand, Jesus says. But I don't know if I can break free of this anytime soon. That's the only kind of person I'm here to help, Jesus says. The burden is heavy and heavier all the time. Then let me carry it. It's too much to bear. Not for me. You don't get it. My offenses aren't directed towards others. They're against you. Then I am the one most suited to forgive them. But the more of the ugliness in me you discover, the sooner you'll get fed up with me. Whoever comes to me, I will never cast out. Friend, that's the wonder of Emmanuel. That's the wonder of Christmas. You have a God who says, I am with you and will never cast you out. Whoever comes to Jesus, I will never cast out. That's the kind of with you Emmanuel came to be. God with us. Oh, like John Wesley, may the wonder of that not be exhausted on our souls, not be lost on our lips, so that we might also say, the best of all is this, God with us. Merry Christmas, 7 Mile Road.